Today is May 15th, 2020. My name is Charles Suter. Next few minutes I'll be presenting a new topic called the action imperative, developing a bias for action. And I have to admit that I am my own best customer on this. A bit of background, since we're all kind of locked in during this pandemic, I've had plenty of time to think, and I've thought of some very grandiose plans or goals, but have taken too little action on any of them. Which gets me to why I've prepared this presentation. Thinking, imagining, and dreaming without acting is basically pure entertainment. So don't fool yourself into thinking that you're doing anything significant just by thinking. If nothing comes out of your thinking, then it's just pure entertainment. Nothing wrong with that, of course. Thinking is important, but so is action. That seems to be the neglected part of the equation, is the action. Action is a means of getting past inertia, which is no action. So my main message here is thinking gets you into things, but it's only actions that get you out. Proposition number one. Some people think too much and act too little. That's been my case in the last couple of weeks. So my solution that I found that beginning to work for me is to think smaller and act bigger. To give you a case in point, last couple of days I've noticed that my house needs to be cleaned, and I figured that to get the whole job done is going to take me 2 or 3 hours. It just seemed like it was a little too daunting to me. I haven't gotten around to it. But today I decided to think small. I set the timer for 10 minutes, decided I was going to get as much vacuuming done as possible, and in 10 minutes I was able to do the entire ground floor. Repeated the process in the afternoon, 10 minutes. So I made 2 major steps towards my goal. Think small, act big. First bullet, all thinking should lead to some sort of action. Otherwise, it's just entertainment. All you need to do is think just enough before you act, so the action that takes place next is intelligently directed. What you don't want to do is go off half-cocked in the wrong direction. So think just enough to get into action. Just remind yourself that any action serves as a launching point for subsequent actions. Just taking one action may not get you to your goal. It may be a journey of many steps. But each subsequent step moves you further, gives you better visibility as to what the next step should be. In fact, I recommend that you do a 3-step process. Think, act, evaluate. Think enough to get started, take an action, evaluate the results you get, decide what to do next, act, evaluate. It's a repeatable process. In fact, once you get going and learn how to do this, you can act and think in parallel. So by the time you finish the first action or the first step, you know what the next step is already. It will become obvious to you. Proposition number 2. Action gets you started, but thinking guides you to the target. Once you launch your missile, the only way to get to your target with any assurance is with a guidance system. That's the thinking. There's a phrase that you've probably heard before: fire, ready, aim. Basically, it means to act before you're fully ready and plan as you go. Again, this is think, act, evaluate, repeat the process. Fortunately, with action comes results, which you can use to plan your next action. Always be thinking about the next right step, even in the midst of an action. So the more you can act and think in parallel, the more progress you can make. Finally, proposition number 3. If in doubt, act more and plan or think less. In other words, just do it. Remember, a person in motion is motivated to stay in motion. Do the right thing, in the right way, and do it now. This is a quote from my former pastor, Mick Uclea. For every uncertainty in your plan of action, take an action to find out. In other words, you don't want to get to your goal at the end of your long journey only to find out the rewards are missing because your information or your assumptions were off. So if you're like me and you've been thinking too much and acting too little, then get into action quickly. Act more and think less. That's all for now. Remember to stay positive. You'll be happier, healthier, and live longer.